Thank you for taking the time to listen to the 2018-2019 State Report Card presentation given by Three Rivers Local School District administrators and teachers at the Board of Education meeting on October 9th, 2018. In this presentation, you'll hear a quick introduction and overview from myself, and then you'll hear from each one of our building level administrators on their specific portion of the report card. Here's a quick look at our district report card, an overview of all of our grades on the various components. And this year, the state also included an overall grade, and that's what you see up here in the left-hand corner. As a district, we always look at the report card to see how we can improve. And, we know that the success that we have as a district is something that we work hard toward every day. I want to give a little bit of background on the district's history with report cards because I think it provides some good perspective as to where we are right now. So this is actually a mountain behind these boxes here because I think achievement and growth in education is kind of like climbing a mountain. Lots of challenges. Some find it easier than others. Some need a lot of support to get to the top. Some people suffer setbacks. We might have different gear. We might move at different speeds. I could go on, but you get the point here. So that's why I chose the mountain. For a long time, we had been climbing this mountain over here on the left, and it took us a while to get going on this mountain, and you can see that here. We were very proud when the district began getting closer to the top, but by 2008, 2009, many districts were making their way to the top, which is why you could begin to earn an excellent with distinction designation. So you can see here on the screen, and I went all the way back to 2003, 2004. For many years, we fell into this effective category, and then we were very excited in 09 and 10 to be rated excellent with distinction, and then excellent with distinction again. But like I said before, we were joined at the top of the mountain by many other districts. So it was around 2010 when a couple of things happened. The Common Core Standards movement was taking hold across the country, and Ohio jumped on board as well. With that, they also began talking about changing the report card to reflect performance on these more rigorous standards. So in 2013, the state began to transition to the A to F report card. So essentially what they did was they called us off of this mountain over here. We regrouped down here in base camp, and were handed a new set of rules, and we were told to start climbing this mountain over here. As most of you know, the report card grades districts on the following components: achievement, progress, gap closing, graduation rate, improving at risk, K-3 readers, and prepared for success. As most of you know, the report card grades districts on the following components: achievement, progress, gap closing, graduation rate, improving at-risk K-3 readers, and also prepared for success, which measures our students' college and career readiness. Note that the report card is based on the state tests and our students' academic performance on those tests. So how are we expected to use the report card? Like I said earlier, we're always looking at the report card to make sure that we are improving, that we're addressing areas of deficiency. And, the report card is meant to help us tell our story. You can see here from the infographic provided to us by ODE, every district report card tells a different story, and the details matter. And that's why our principals will be diving deeper into those details in a few minutes. For us, it's clear that we have room to improve. There will always be room to improve. I want to make sure that you know that we are working hard every day to get better. I understand that people could look at our report card and think the sky is falling in Three Rivers, but I don't want people to leave with that feeling because we have really great things going on here behind this report card. And when you look at the big picture, we are running in the middle of the pack. It's not where we want to be. We want to be at the head of the pack, but we are here and we're going to continue to work hard on our journey. So I've, again, pulled some data to give you some perspective about where we are. I showed you a picture earlier of where we are in our climb on that second mountain. We received an overall district component grade of a C. And as you can see from the data on this slide, we are kind of right in the middle of the pack. 252 other school districts did get a C, and you can see here that the distribution was truly a bell curve. So here is a look at our achievement component. The achievement component, again, is looking at the testing indicators and how we did on that. If you look over in the far right column, you can see that in 2016-17, we met 3 out of 23 indicators. This past year, we met 6 out of 24, and we also increased our percent passing on 6 of those tests. We did meet 4 testing indicators, and we also met the chronic absenteeism and end of course retake indicator as well. So Three Rivers students scored in the 70s on an additional 8 indicators, and the goal is 80%. So we scored in the 70s on 8 additional indicators that we did not meet this year. So you can kind of see here in the left-hand column where other districts fell in the achievement component. Most districts fell in that C and D range. And as a result, the percent of schools, or I'm sorry, the percent of indicators met, you can see that 436 school districts received an F because they did not meet the achievement indicator. So here's a look at our value-added rankings. The state provides us with 3 rankings, and I wanted to share those with you as well. Again, this is very big picture, and even though we're not where we want to be, I kind of want to show you that we're running, again, right in the middle of the pack when it comes to many of these rankings. So here's our value-added rankings, and you can see here that it includes public, community, and STEM schools. So the total number of schools that are ranked in this category are 856. In the left-hand column, you can see the overall value-added rankings, how many local education agencies received A's, B's, C's, etc. And then if you look in the right-hand column, you can see that Three Rivers Local School District ranked 414th out of 856 LEAs that were in this category. And you'll see on these rankings that I try to provide the information from some of our CHL schools and also some of our neighboring schools as well. For the performance index rankings, you can see here the same applies. It includes public, community, and STEM schools. So there are 872 LEAs that are included in this ranking. And you can see the breakdown in the left-hand column. And then you can see in the right-hand column where Three Rivers Local School District fell. So we were 363 out of 872 LEAs. So here are the performance index rankings. As you can see, there are 872 LEAs in this particular ranking. Like the last ranking, it includes public, community, and STEM schools throughout the state of Ohio. In the left-hand column, you can see the overall performance index rankings and where most of those local education agencies fell. And then in the right-hand column, you can see that Three Rivers Local School District was number 363 out of 872 local education agencies in the state. And we earned a C on that ranking. And finally, the gifted rankings. We are most excited about this. We did a fantastic job on our gifted indicator, and as a result, are ranked 73rd out of 563 districts in the state that are included in the gifted rankings. So you can see, let's talk first about the top two boxes. Out of the 608 Ohio school districts, only 38 met the gifted indicator. So there are three components that districts must meet in order to meet this indicator. And Three Rivers Local School District, we met 2 out of 3 of those components, and we missed the third component by just over 2 points. So we're really hoping to be included in the districts who met the indicator next year because we are so close. So moving down to the bottom 2 boxes, you can see, again, Three Rivers ranked 73rd out of 563 districts in the state. You can see in the left-hand box on the bottom that the Three Rivers ranked behind these 3 CHL schools and, really represented the CHL grouping very well. In the right-hand lower box, you can see the ranking of some of our neighboring districts and how they performed in the state gifted rankings. The other thing I'm going to show you very quickly in regards to the gifted indicator, something that we are very proud of, and that is the percent of our gifted students in the district who scored advanced on the state test. So this is the highest score you can earn on state testing. And so you can see, for example, in 3rd grade, 86% of our gifted students earned a 5 on the 3rd grade math test, 77% on the language arts test, and so on. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Biedenbach and Mrs. Conley to speak about Three Rivers Elementary.
The Three Rivers Elementary report card overall actually shows report card data from kindergarten through 6th grade. So what you're looking at here is indicative of really the 3rd through the 6th grade scores. So for the next couple of slides, we're going to pull out the 3rd and the 4th grade data out of the report card so that we can see just what's happening at Three Rivers Elementary. So the 3rd and the 4th grade test scores that you're seeing on this slide, 3rd grade English Language Arts and Math and 4th grade English Language Arts and Math. This makes up the achievement component of the elementary report card. To meet an indicator, we need to meet 80% of our students at proficient levels. So you can see that we met the indicator in 4th grade mathematics. We did not meet it in the other areas. However, this is the first year out of the past 3 years that we have been at 70% or above in all areas. This is the achievement levels of each one of those tests. So you can see 3rd grade on the left and 4th grade on the right. And it tells you where our students are falling within those different levels. So the percentages of our students. So the positives that we're seeing here, that the majority of our students, or the higher percentages, are falling in the accelerated and the advanced ranges, and it's getting smaller numbers in the basic and limited ranges. So basically, we're always trying to get kids in those top 3 ranges to be proficient, accelerated, or advanced. We have some work in a few areas, but overall, the good thing is our bigger areas are up at the top of those graphs. So gap closing is an area that we wanted to focus on, and we'll focus on that in one of our later slides about what we're doing to reach this. Basically, what you're looking at on this slide is the state gives us goal areas, goal scores for each area, for each subgroup. So each goal is the red dot. So if our bar is beyond the red dot, then we met or exceeded that goal. So what we're looking at here is closing. Our big area that we're trying to focus on in the elementary is closing the achievement gap for students with disabilities. So you can see we did not meet that in language arts or math. We didn't meet our goal area there. So we're trying to meet that goal. And we'll talk about that in the next couple of slides, how we are addressing that area. So our progress indicator in the elementary, it's just a 4th grade score. 3rd grade takes a state test, but they do not take a state test in 2nd grade. So there's no progress to measure between the 2 years. So from 3rd to 4th grade, we're measuring progress, and we did not make the expected growth in the English language arts. That doesn't mean we didn't make any growth. We just didn't make expected growth. And however, in math, we made more than expected growth. So we want to focus some efforts in 4th grade language arts, which we'll also address on one of the later slides and how we're doing that. So here's some of the things that we're doing in the elementary to address some of our problem areas. The big one is our common plan time, which we did a lot of work and presentations last year on what that means. And during that time, we're doing a lot of identifying standards, aligning our lessons so that students are getting similar experiences between each classroom, no matter which classroom they're sitting in. Our teachers are assessing using common assessments now, and they're going through the item analysis to make sure that we're really hitting the areas that students need us to hit, and we're not just covering everything just to cover it, but we're hitting the areas students need us to cover. So the closing the gap circle, that's where we're really trying to hit our students with disabilities. So our special ed department is having more meetings. We have a lot of co-teaching happening, which is a result of that common plan time to have our intervention specialists planning with our general education teachers and being able to be in the classroom a lot more often. That's helping not only our students with disabilities, but it's also helping our lowest 20% in achievement. They're benefiting from that co-teaching model, having 2 highly qualified teachers in the room during periods of the day to intervene quickly and model some of those strategies right away while the students are having trouble. And then we talked about in the progress area, really trying to hit that 4th grade ELA mark for next year. So our 4th grade is now in teams of 2 rather than teams of 3. So that will eliminate transitions for students. They'll be able to spend more time with each of their teachers, build relationships, and just give the teachers a chance to get to know the students and their needs a lot better. We added a 4th grade teacher with a reading endorsement under the 3rd grade reading guarantee. That's required in 3rd grade, but not in 4th. But we felt like that was beneficial to have somebody with that reading endorsement on the team. We have the co-teaching, and then we're just trying to make things more relevant and engaging. So with the addition of a technology integration specialist, having our gifted intervention specialist in the building, and having Ms. Conley in the building to help teachers breaking down data and creating lessons that are more engaging. We feel like we're hitting that instruction piece a lot harder. And then with the addition of the elementary guidance counselor, we're really starting to meet the social emotional needs of those students, not only in the lowest 20th percentile, but across the board to make sure that we're meeting the needs, the students' needs, their basic needs before we get to meeting their instructional needs.
The K-3 literacy measure is a component that looks at how successful our district is in moving students from off track to being proficient readers by 3rd grade. So every fall, our students in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade take a diagnostic assessment that determines whether the students are on target to be proficient readers or if they're off track. If they're off track, we will use intervention time to pinpoint some deficit areas and to intervene at that area. So what this component score is for us this school year is this letter C. We were able to get 54 of 129 students over the last school year from off track to on track. And from 2015 and 16, we had 274 students that were not on track and moved 107 of those students to on track. In 2016, we had 147 students not on track to 79 on track. So it's very exciting to see that this past school year. We only started off with 129 students off track and moved 54 of those students on track. So we're doing the right thing as far as this measure is concerned in moving our students to becoming proficient readers in Three Rivers Local School District.
So as Mr. Biedenbach and Mrs. Conley presented in their presentation, the middle school data, grades 5 and 6, is included with the elementary, and grades 7 or 8 are included with the high school. The middle school data is not separated out. If you look at our data, we only met one indicator, which we know is unacceptable. It's not what we wanted. It's not what we wanted for our students, and we don't think it's a reflection of what's going on. At the middle school, we took the approach of looking at the data and solving things at a building level and then at team levels. So the building level responses were that we were going to look and reach out to the whole student. We realized that we had things that were missing in our day-to-day operation. So we established building values and non-negotiables that guide where and what our students do throughout the building. We added an addition of a part-time counselor. We do have a title instructor that works specifically with grades 5 and 6. We've increased our relationship with the children's home and have developed not only boys groups, but girls groups as well. We have implemented PBIS throughout the building. We've brought in speakers to discuss social media, We Are One, anti-bullying campaigns. We have developed several different clubs in order to get kids involved into the school and bring them into our building so they have a better connection. And we've also started having monthly events for all of our students. So it's not only having dances for the 7th and 8th graders, but we're bringing the 5th and 6th graders in for movie nights, game nights, and different activities where they can have fun with friends here instead of being outside and on their computers all the time. Each grade level took their data and then had to sit down and come up to their response to their scores. In the 5th grade, while we didn't meet the indicator, we did show growth in all areas. From this, they decided that they were going to create weekly standard-based common assessments. They complete weekly updates that identifies the kids that are on track, that have mastered, and that need intervention. In their intervention, it is focused on reading. They are targeting various students who don't meet the standards in all their classes. We also look at map tests, dibbles, days, and Read Live. We use Read Live fluency programs. We've divided the kids up by their reading fluency and comprehension abilities to put them in appropriate group. And each teacher has 6 to 7 students in their intervention class. The programs that we use are Orton Gillingham. We use Read Live, Moby Max. We do use IXL and News ELA. To improve on our AIR scores, what they've done in their classroom is to align the content with intervention and with intervention specialists and gifted specialists. So they are planning weekly with these two groups in order to make sure that we're having rigor in our class and we're also making the appropriate accommodations. We did look at the AIR results to focus in on our weaker areas, and on their weekly assessments, they have worded their questions and are setting up the questions like the AIR test is, and we are providing kids with more online assessments. In the 6th grade, we have the same results. We did grow, but we didn't meet the indicator. What they have done is looked at intervention and making sure their intervention groups are 5 to 6 kids. They have grouped these kids by their needs. They are using Read Live, Orton Gillingham, and Study Island to reach these students. The math teachers also have incorporated more written responses into their assessments and into their daily practice, and using a common format. For science and social studies, those teachers are collaborating with our language arts teachers and math teachers, and they're focusing on the informational text. They are writing more and using the same style rubrics that our language arts teachers are. With our common plan time, the teams are documenting and discussing the mastery that students are having towards their standards weekly. So every student is talked about every week in some capacity. Teams there are working on auditing their assessments. So they're making sure their assessments match what the standards are and what the skills that the standards are asking them to teach. We have been working with an outside consultant in order to guide us through this. We are developing common assessments, and the 6th grade team also plans with a gifted and intervention specialist in order to incorporate differentiation into their classrooms. And we share students' progress in all content areas with the entire teaching staff. Language arts in the classrooms, the standards are driving our instruction. We are using the same strategy for written response across all content areas. We are utilizing the depth of knowledge charts, and we find out more about the criteria the state uses to grade the written portion of the state test, which is now graded by computer. So we're really looking at what the state is looking for. So those are the things that we're looking for when we're analyzing students' writing. In math, they're focusing on improving rigor on their assessments and their teaching methods. They're providing differentiated and individualized instruction. They're allowing students to move through material at their own pace and skill level. And they looked at their results to see where the gaps were so that they could focus on those areas. In social studies and science, there is more emphasis put on supporting the language arts and math class standards into their content area. They are using informational text in the classroom and text features, and they have students respond to daily prompts, making sure to use critical thinking skills. In the 7th grade, their common planning time, they have been spending their time aligning the curriculum with content partners to share and analyze data. They do look at student progress, the same as grade 6 and grade 5, to plan interventions and what supports are needed. Their assessments, they're looking at developing more rigorous assessments, and they're looking at reaching the whole child as well. So getting to know the student on a deeper level. Reading across the content area is their focus. So all core teachers are adding more reading and writing into their curriculum, and they are requiring students to provide evidence and written responses. This is even in social studies, math, and science. In 7th grade, they do have co-taught ELA and math groups. So those groups are of approximately 10 students. This is their intervention. They have 2 teachers, 1 math and 1 language arts per grade. During this rotation, they have focused on reading a novel, and they are integrating the math standards and reading standards in that class. Their main focus is on literary texts through guided reading. For their intervention for our students that are a little bit lower and need more fluency, they're working with Read Live. Students in this program work towards individual goals, and they do have support. And the support students are working with an intervention specialist to keep up in all of their content areas. The thing that excelled with the 7th grade was in the area of their gifted instruction. So 95% of the students that were identified gifted scored advanced in math, and 73% scored advanced in reading. This was based off of the gifted indicator and the AIR results. In 8th grade, you can see that in some areas we did increase, we did show growth, in others we didn't. In 8th grade, it's difficult because we have students that are taking credit level classes. So we have some students that it's very difficult to pull them out because of the other classes that they're in. But we've made a conscious effort to get intervention to these students. All subject areas are going through and auditing and revamping their assessments. They do have individualized jacket time for students, and they're incorporating News ELA more. They do have 2 Read Live groups, which focus on fluency. 8th grade intervention, they have 2 Read Live groups, which focus on fluency. They have 2 English groups that are using a Read Theory program. That program is individualized, and it works specifically and targets the areas that the students are struggling based off of assessment results. We also have established 2 math groups that focus on individual deficiency. They look at the areas of vocab, written expression, word problems, and any skills that students haven't mastered on Math 8 assessments. In social studies, they have focused on increasing the reading and writing content, and our teacher is providing working lunches. So students come in for any additional tutoring assistance with any subject. In science, he has added project-based learning. The extended response questions, he has increased the extended response questions to his test, and he provides assessments in varying forms to reach all students. In English, they have expanded their cross-curricular outreach. So they are planning and collaborating with all subject areas and working with them on teaching the writing structure that they want and that the state's looking. They do teacher swaps based off of their strengths. So one language arts teacher feels her strength is in writing, whereas another one is in reading comprehension. All of the students in the 8th grade go to one for writing and go to one for that, which is thinking out of the box a little bit. They do have regular student conferences, so they're meeting with students weekly to give them feedback on their progress. In math, they've incorporated more vocabulary, more reading, and skill-based individualized learning. They're using textbook resources and assessments in year 2 that are more AIR-aligned, and they go through their assessment and reviews with students. So students are sitting down for conferences and getting more feedback from teachers. If you look at our scores, the one thing that the state does not do is they do not pull out the 8th grade algebra scores from the high school algebra scores. So if you look at this year in 2017-18, we offered 2 algebra classes. 100% of those students passed the assessment. So all of our students that were in algebra passed the algebra air assessment. We're very proud of that. Math 8, we had a 68%, which if you look at the scores from last year was a 36%. So that's a huge increase. So we feel like we have placed students more appropriately this year. If you add that up, that gives us a total of 80% passage rate. Those are pulling the scores away from the high school and just focusing on what our 8th grade is doing. In one of our 8th grade classes this year, they are piloting individualized skills and standards pace. So students are working at their own pace in the class. As you can see, there's folders that go through all the content and all the standards that are going to be taught. The students have their markers on the board and pace themselves through it. Teacher meets individually with students, meets with students as a group, just to meet the varying needs. As students get to a level where they can move on, they're moved on to the next level. So students aren't being held back and they're not being pushed forward too quickly.
Taylor High School. Taylor High School will be a recognized school of excellence that prepares children for a changing world. Looking at Taylor High School's achievement rating for the 2017-2018 school year, Taylor High School received a component grade of a D. Looking at the performance index, 71.2, which is a C. Indicators met was a 26.7, which is an F. Keeping in mind, when you look at the indicators met, On the state report card, we are rated out of 13 indicators because we also include our middle school within our data. If you look at our high school data to the right, that'll be all of the performance indicators that you must meet, and it's out of 9 or 10 indicators, which is the standard for any other high school. So actually, if you look at what we've met, we would go up about 10% looking at high school to high school. However, if you look at our Algebra 1, we received a 55.7%. It is up 9% from years past. So we did go up. Are we where we should be? No, but we're moving in the right direction. If you look at American government, Taylor High School, we were able to meet this indicator on the report card. We scored at 87%. The state requirement is 80%. So our target goal is to reach an 80% on all these indicators. American U.S. history, we received an 82%. Again, the state minimum is 80, so we also was able to meet this goal. Looking at biology, Taylor High School scored a 77.3%. A little short under 80. That could be possibly from one kid passing. It's really close there. And also looking at year over year, that's an 11-point gain, an 11% gain from years past. So we are moving in the right direction there. English 1, we scored a 71.3%, and that's also a 3% increase. Going to our English Language Arts 2, we were right around the same benchmark or same indicator percentage that we were in years past. So that's the area that we're looking at and looking to help our teachers revamp curriculum within the classroom for that one. Our EOC indicator, we were able to meet that. That has to do with kids taking the end of the course exams and passing those on the first or second time taking those tests. If you look at our geometry, that's an area that we know that we have room to improve and that we're looking to grow in, and we scored at 49.5. Also, going back to the algebra at the 55.7, it's very important that I say that most schools in the tri-state area scored around that 55 to 60 range. So that is something that the state's looking at as far as revamping that test as well. Okay, so our next sheet does a statewide comparison from our school to what the state average is. And you can look at the data and see there, just to highlight, American U.S. government, we're scoring higher than the state average at the 87. You can see that the state average is a 79. Also, Algebra 1, we're a little bit under the state average, which again, I highlighted in the last slide. So we're right in that area, but obviously there's room for growth. And look at our American U.S. history, that stands out. We're at 82.5, and you can see the state standard there. And also English 1 and English 2, we're right there near the state standard as well. Okay. If you look at our achievement levels, you can see that our top performing students, our accelerated students, and our advanced students, they're scoring very well. They're doing a great job. So as a high school, our concerns are going to be our lower tier students, which are going to be the limited students and our basic students. Those are the students that we must work with, must create plans for to grow. If we can grow these students here at the bottom, our report card will improve. Our next slide of Taylor High School is our graduation rate. We received an A for our graduation rate. So we have interventions in place. We have policies in place to help students graduate within the 4 years. There are a few students who continue their education over a 5-year span. They may go through special programs through the Oaks, but we make sure that they meet with their counselors in year 1 all the way to year 4 and graduate on time. Progress, Taylor High School, this is our progress component. So overall, we received an F. Our gifted, we received an A, letter grade A. Our lowest 20% achievement is F, and then our students with disabilities is also an F. Okay. The next part of our report card is gap closing for Taylor High School. This is a part of the report card where it measures, are we meeting 1 year's growth for students? Let me start off by saying not all children start at the same place with their learning, but every student should learn and grow. And that's going to look different for each student that we have here at the Three Rivers campus. Looking at the English language arts side of it, you can see that the students who are scoring under 80, students with disabilities, that's our opportunity for growth. You can see the average with students with disabilities, they're at a 56.5. And if you also look at English language arts, they're at a 46.8. State's goal is for us to be in the 80 plus. So that's room for growth. And that's what we're going to be working on as our focus in the high school is growing our low performing students on the scores and moving them forward. Taylor High School Prepared for Success. That is a standard that is new to the report card and has been there for the last year and a half or so. So you can look at you can see that the 2016-2017 is the data that they're looking at. The Prepare for Success is always 1 year behind. So we'll be getting the new Prepare for Success data very soon. ACT participation was at a 60.5. At Taylor High School now we have 100% of our students taking the ACT. So that will also increase in our scores. SAT participation, we don't have a lot of students taking that, so that will always be a lower number that you'll see on the report card for us. Our honors diploma, our current counselors are working with students, juniors and seniors, to help identify students who qualify for the honors diploma, and we're going to be pushing that out more. We're also going to start offering the honors diploma freshman year so students can know about it and take the opportunity to get an honors diploma.
Looking at our Prepared for Success, we wanted to highlight several programs we have in place to support our students at Taylor High School. The first is the implementation of Torch Prep, which is a renowned program to support students in their progress and understanding of the ACT exam, the test format, and test-taking strategies. Torch Prep is known for equipping students to better understand the test and to learn the skills acquired to improve their ACT scores. We will be offering Torch Prep to all students in the 11th grade this year in November. The ACT will then be given to students in March, which will allow students to build upon their Torch Prep skills and learn in their classes, skills, and content area to improve their ACT score. Students will then all take the ACT, so Three Rivers is providing the opportunity for students to take the ACT in March for no cost. This also gives a nice window of time for students to apply their knowledge from Torch Prep, as well as their content areas and teachers that are supporting them to prepare for this test. Plan for the Future Day is a wonderful program that our school offers. Our college and career counselors have developed programming to bring in college reps from all over, as well as testing opportunities for students to prepare for college readiness, where they take the pre-ACT, the PSAT, and the NMSQT. The ACT prep course is something that's being offered this year to students as well to support their understanding of the course. That way, they can master the skills needed to do well on the test, and they can practice the timing of the test, as that's often something that limits students in their success in the test. We are working on the honors diploma, as Mr. Badgett mentioned on the last slide, and encouraging that. We will be implementing that with 9th graders so that they understand what an honors diploma looks like and the requirements to achieve that. Students also are working with the Oaks for job keys and credentialing programs. This helps students be prepared for success as they're able to explore their strengths and apply those to a career field where they can become successful members in society. We're also adding more AP courses to Taylor High School, and we're looking at opportunities to expand our AP curriculum as well as support our teachers in the development of the curriculum in those courses. College Credit Plus is offered on campus and off campus. We have over 100 students in Taylor High School that are taking advantage of receiving college credit right now in high school prior to graduating from Taylor. The scheduling fair is something that is offered to students and parents so that they understand how College Credit Plus works. This allows us to push students to take more challenging courses and to meet the needs of all students. We are also working as a team to develop the instructional strategies of our teachers at Taylor High School. Recently, we have compiled a weekly under 80 report. So during common planning, teachers work together to provide intervention for students who are scoring under an 80% in their courses. We are targeting the lowest 20% achievement in students while utilizing the under 80 report and working with grade level teams. Teachers are providing interventions and creating programs and plans for students to achieve. We are communicating with parents and equipping students with tools they need to succeed. The common planning time and common assessments is something that we're working diligently on. All grade levels and content areas are developing common assessments to mirror the end of course assessments. This will allow students throughout the entire school year to enrich in their knowledge and skills to improve their end of course assessment scores. Teachers are then analyzing the short cycle assessments they're writing by digging into the data to reteach and enrich students. We have hired instructional coaches from the Hamilton County ESC in the English language arts area and the math area so that we can improve our scores for ELA 1 and 2, algebra, and geometry. We are providing feedback to teachers with instructional design and delivery. We are doing that through evaluations, being present in the classroom, and also utilizing common planning for teachers to improve their design. Our teachers offer a biology boot camp prior to the end of course assessment. Last year, we were able to improve the scores 11%. And this year, we're hoping that after that increase, we're going to continue to build upon that. And finally, teachers are writing across content areas. They are making sure that students are writing and reflecting on their own learning, which is proven by research to improve the growth and development and the intellectual capacity of all children.
In regards to the report card rating that we received for Taylor High School for students with disabilities, we wanted to go into a few things that the high school has already done to proactively look at this and improve our rating for future years. The first one has been with the common plan time that the board so graciously voted and to give us last year in a board meeting. We have been able to use that for collaboration time. Mr. Badgett, Mrs. Bloomstrom has set up once a week where the special education department gets to lead the entire staff in various professional developments to help reach those students with special needs. We've also done breakout sessions where teachers have picked areas that they feel they can use more help in and have made it a lot more personalized. As far as restructuring and support, we did move some intervention specialists around. An intervention's license is K through 12. So being the same campus, we have the flexibility to move people around if we feel that is necessary. And one move we did do this year was move someone that is dual certified in intervention specialist and English. So we have that person working in all high school English classes. And we also have an aide or an intervention specialist supporting all tested areas in the high school. Due to our growing size, which is a great problem to have, it has actually allowed us to share spaces with the departments and with special ed teachers. So currently we have 2 classes for special ed where 2 teachers are sharing, which is really allowing them to kind of work together whenever they're in that space to share ideas and collaborate. We also are able to push out into the math department classrooms. And so we're able to kind of use that space as well. One class that we added last year or made additions to was support and transitions. And this is really big with students with disabilities. When they turn 14, we have to have a secondary transition plan for them. And this really is making students learning relevant. If I want to go into HVAC after high school or I want to go to college, it's basically making a plan so that what I'm doing my 8th grade, my 9th grade, my 10th grade year is relevant for my post-secondary planning. We also have given one of our high school teachers the name of the transition coordinator who helps with all these assessments and placements for these students. One thing Mr. Badgett has recently started at the high school were remediation courses using Edgenuity. Edgenuity is our virtual software program that we currently use, and we are using this to help those kiddos that don't quite have the 18 points yet to get that remediation for courses before this next winter testing in December. And finally, given the advantage that we are a pre-K-12 campus, last year we started doing special ed binders to track student work samples and data. So as a kiddo moves from 8th to 9th grade or from 4th to 5th grade or even 9th to 10th grade, their intervention specialists might change. But this binder is going to capture not only their IEP and ETR, but it's going to capture work samples so that we can use that to further them in their academic goals.
Again, we just want to say thank you for taking the time to learn a little bit more about our 2017-2018 state report card. Again, we are working hard every day to get better and do what is best for our students in Three Rivers. For live links to the resources listed on this presentation, please visit www.threeriversschools.org to access the original PowerPoint presentation, or you can find many of them on ODE's website. Thank you again.